Now, talking of Nicola Sturgeon, the absolute nonsense of her travel ban to Manchester and to Salford as well. And you know what's interesting about this? It's the first time in a long time where some prominent politician has actually stood up and disagreed with Nicola Sturgeon and told her that she's wrong. And of course I'm talking about Andy Burnham, the Manchester mayor, who quite rightly said that the SNP should pay up for the travel ban if they have prejudiced people in Manchester who were maybe booking holidays in Scotland, or who are losing business because tourists from Scotland are no longer going to Manchester, then Sturgeon should compensate these Manchester firms. He said SNP should pay up for the travel ban. That's the front of the Metro a couple of days ago, and he's absolutely quite right. But what gets avoided in this is what legal right has Sturgeon to do this? Now, yesterday we spent the whole day examining the law on this matter. Now, I should just say before I go into this, we have a guest coming up at 11 o'clock, and just before 11 o'clock we'll have our competition. So really looking forward to our guest this morning, who is Catherine Rainey, a great AFFG activist. So looking forward to talking to her. However, the question is, under what law is Madame Sturgeon in setting up these travel bans? Now, everything to do with the corona situation was devolved in an act called the Coronavirus Act 2020 by the British Parliament. And what it said was that the devolved institutions in Holyrood, Cardiff and Stormont could make up their own laws within specifically laid down areas, okay? Within areas that were within their devolved competency, within areas such as health and things like that. Now, it made... So the Scottish National Party cannot make law outside of that. They can't just make up law as they go along. It has to be justified by the powers that were given to them by the Coronavirus Act 2020. Now, there is nothing in the Coronavirus Act 2020 that says that the devolved institutions can set up travel bans. And when you think about it, there should be nothing there anyway, because travel within the United Kingdom is surely the responsibility of the British government. I'm not talking about transport, I'm not talking about road building in Scotland or whatever. These things can be devolved. I'm talking about the travel of a human being from north to south, from east to west in our British Isles. That, if we have a United Kingdom, that is the responsibility of the British Parliament to decide. However, the SNP always push the boundaries, and they push the boundaries and they wait for the response. They wait to see what will the British government do, and if the British government does nothing, then they take it up as something else we can get away with. And that's exactly what's happening here with the travel ban. Now, there's a Scottish statutory instrument. We'll put up the article actually just now on our website, just so it's up there and people can see it. But there's a Scottish statutory instrument, which is a fancy name for a law which can be created by the Scottish Parliament without it having to go through any kind of debate in the chamber. And in the section of this here, it's called the Health Protection Coronavirus Restrictions and Requirements Local Levels Scotland Amendment Number 3 Regulations 2020. And Schedule 7A says, very grandly, a person who lives in Scotland must not leave Scotland for the purpose of entering or remaining in a place within the common travel area mentioned in paragraph 4. And then it's got another section here, restrictions on entering Scotland. A person who lives in a place within the common travel area mentioned in paragraph 4 must not enter or remain in Scotland. Now, the common travel area is a phrase established by the British Parliament which refers to all of the United Kingdom, the Channel Islands, the Isle of Man, and the Republic of Ireland as well. And so it seems that the SNP has taken it upon itself to decide who can move in and out of the common travel area. And they will list in paragraph 4 those areas within that common travel area that they don't want you travelling to or coming out of into Scotland. And of course they've added the area of Manchester City Council and Salford City Council in their arrogance, because that has no legal standing. For a law to have legal standing, it must be based on something which gives it that legal authority. That law about restricting travel is not based on any power which the SNP or the Scottish administration or Holyrood has. It does not have the legal power to stop people travelling in and out of Scotland. Imagine they're telling people in Manchester, the Scottish Parliament, the SNP is telling people in Manchester, you can't come to Scotland. That is an absolute outrage. They're acting as if Scotland is already independent, and they're acting as if the SNP already has the power to determine who can move in and out of Scotland. They're acting as if the Scottish Parliament already determines the border between Scotland and England and decides who gets in or out. That's way beyond their powers. Now the question is, why is the British government keeping quiet about this? You know, we need a statement from the top. We need a statement from Boris to say, you do not have the power to do this. Now, the British government may be reluctant to do that because they know that the SNP and the lying media will make a big thing of that, and Sturgeon will go, I'll see you in court then about it. And it might be that the government don't want this to be tested in court, even though it's obvious, and even though it's an obvious step too far. Maybe they're nervous about the optics that would transpire from that. Maybe they're nervous about Sturgeon and her lying media saying things like, oh, so you want people to travel into Scotland who are diseased. You want people to go from Scotland to Manchester and catch COVID. You know, maybe they're just uncomfortable about how that would play out. So there may be political reasons that they're just letting the SNP do this. But if they believe in the United Kingdom, they have to come out and say, that's not acceptable and that's way outside of your power. There is no law which enables you to do that. So they must say that. And now is the time, because they have a prominent public political figure speaking out against her. So, in the shape of Andy Burnham, the Manchester mayor. And so now's the time, when it's a hot issue, to just lay that on the table and say, that's not legal. That has no legal standing. And you can't do that. Because believe me, if you let them get away with this, they'll keep pushing and pushing and pushing and setting precedents all the time until, before you know it, there is a hard border between Scotland and England, because that's the SNP agenda.